Hi, I'm Paul Pease. We have Craig Van den Avont, president of GAM Gear Drive with us. Craig, thanks for being here.
Nice to be here.
One of the things I wanted to talk to you about is your consummate planning and strategic thinking and execution as a business owner, because I've really marveled at what your company has done in being very competitive in a tough market to compete in when you're competing with the Chinese. The fact you have a lot of product that is heavily European content, so you're getting slammed on the euro, and yet you're able to compete and get product out the door and do it in a competitive way. Tell us a little bit, walk us through the strategic thinking process and planning and execution that your company does.
Well, when we look at the success of our business, which we've averaged over 28% growth for almost 10 years now, I have to look at our strategic planning process as one of the most critical factors in the success of our organization, and it's one of our strengths in our business. In addition to having great people and great products, but our strategic planning process is probably one of the most impressive and important things that we do. And when we talk about strategic planning, it really is, it's a process. People think about strategic planning as maybe setting a vision or a plan of where do you want to be in 3 or 5 years. That's just one element of it. Strategic planning has 3 elements, which is the strategic, setting the strategic plan, which is where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years, the execution of that strategic plan, and then the feedback and control of it. And that's, you know, on top of the vision. You set who you are as a vision and how do you see yourself in the marketplace. But starting from the top, you know, strategic planning really is sitting down, understanding who you are as a company, what the marketplace is, what the competition is doing, and then identifying what's going to differentiate your business from all the others, and really figuring out what is the game changer. You have to understand what is going to change the game for your company versus your competition, or what's going to be different in the marketplace. And when you identify that, you can set a plan for where do you want to be in 3 to 5 years. Once you have that strategic plan, the execution of that plan is really an annual strategic plan, which is the deployment of it, the execution of that plan. And that is based on other factors. We use the balanced scorecard as a major element of setting our annual initiatives, but we're looking at where do we want to be in 3 to 5 years, and then setting annual goals or initiatives that take us step by step along the way. And third is each year we are monitoring where we're at in relation to our plan and putting the proper feedbacks and controls in place to make sure that we're actually achieving our plan. So those are the 3 elements, and talking about it may sound simple, but actually executing that takes a lot of discipline and a lot of hard work.
Well, you also have to have the right people in place, because I think there's a lot of people, a lot of leaders that are going to be listening to you here and say, you know what, I have a great plan, but I can't get my people to execute it. Isn't part of it perhaps, well, it looks like you engage your people first of all in the process, but also I think you have to have the right kind of people that you hire to come into that realm. Can you talk a little bit both about engaging people and making sure you got the right players in the right place there?
Well, I keep a little cartoon with a caption underneath it in my strategic planning binder, and I look at it almost every day when I open it up. And it was a quote from a businessman that basically said, the world is made up of very intelligent people that accomplish absolutely nothing. Give me a bunch of average people that are doers, and I'll accomplish a lot more than those highly educated, credentialed individuals. And our company is made up with a bunch of doers. We have people that don't just talk about it, don't just talk about problems, but actually do it. Now, that being said, you know, people are human and they're busy every day. So what's really important is getting people to do what's assigned to them. So going back to our strategic planning process, we set out each year what our company is going to accomplish, and it sets this laser beam focus of the projects or the initiatives we're going to go after. At that point, we assign objectives to departments, managers, and those get rolled down to individuals in the department. And every single person in our company, it's down to the person on the shop floor, has 3 to 5 actions that they need to get accomplished each year, and it all kind of rolls up into
They're all
this
tied
annual.
to the strategic initiative.
It starts from the
Yeah.
top down, and you know, departments, managers, individuals, all have actions in place, and people are evaluated. We actually took our entire employee review process and rolled it back so that all reviews are done at the same time. They're all done in the month of February and March, and that's after the plan is in place. By that time, it's been fed down to the departments, and the individual actions have been put on people's reviews. And annually, people are reviewed upon 3 factors: whether or not, how well they do their day-to-day job, what type of team member they are, and third, did they get their initiatives done? And if you don't get your initiatives done, you're probably not going to be a GAM team member very long. So there is an incentive to get those projects done as well. But on top of that, we have great people that just can get things done. Well,
you're on the hook, though, for getting some things done, too, and accountable, right? And everybody knows those things, the action items that you're on the hook for as well?
Throughout the company, it's very aware. I mean, we have a process that's laid out, and so everyone's actions, I mean, of course, people's reviews are confidential, but their projects aren't. That's public information. And the higher you are in an organization, the more, I don't want to say vague, because goals should always be specific, but the goal is maybe not as specific to your individual day-to-day job. For someone that's a higher up manager or a senior member of the company may have an objective that is very broad, and they have to get the buy-in and the help from numerous people in the organization in order to get that goal accomplished. And so part of being an upper manager in the company is learning how to get things done from other people that you're not directly responsible for. But likewise, keeping all things equal, that other manager may have things that they need to get done that they need your help from as well. So there is some give and take.
Yeah, and that's how you get where I find a lot of organizations struggle is they get into these silos, the silo mentality, and yet you have to do some cross-functional things where people have to reach across the silo and break down the silo walls to get these things done.
Absolutely. Now, keep in mind, you know, a good strategic plan, the annual initiatives, there may only be 3 or 4. The more you have, the less chance you have of any of them getting done. So the number of initiatives, objectives, and these are far-reaching. These are major changes to the organization. There's only 3 of them or 4 of them each year. And so everyone is focused on getting those 3 things done. You know, for example, back in 2000, we identified, there was, you know, the recession was coming in play, and there was just, you read about it all the time, there was this major exodus of manufacturing going to China. Everyone was cutting their costs, and products were coming in from China, and manufacturing was going to China, and you know, other places in Asia. And at that time, we sat back and said, look, we are not, if we think we're going to compete on price, we may be a price leader today, but that is going to be short-lived. We really didn't have a competitor with product coming in from Asia, but we just figured it was a matter of time. So again, understanding what the marketplace is, who your competition is, we said, look, in order for us to be different, let's focus on flexibility, being able to do customization with our product. Now, companies that do customized product or specials, if you will, you know, it's hard for them to make money. We had to figure out how to make, if this was going to be our core competency, we had to figure out how to make money doing it in 4 and 5 pieces, offering it a value. You know, we couldn't charge that much more for the product. So we had to figure out how to do it for a small incremental fee and yet make money and not have it kill the entire organization. So we really, again, there was our strategic plan. What's the game changer? We wanted to be the best in the industry with flexibility and customization. And then we set off measuring ourselves and then putting initiatives in place. And that was several years to get that done. But we took a blank piece of paper to our organization. Processes went out the window. And we started from the beginning. What needs to happen to turn our company into a different direction? The machines, the CNC machine tools we purchased for our factory, the processes that are in place, how things flow from one department to the next are all set up to be extremely efficient, that kind of that single piece flow, but based on, you know, being able to do a custom design. You know, today we manufacture parts, we can get an order in-house on some of our product lines, the ones that are 100% within our control. We can take an order in-house, we can enter that order, we can custom design the product, we can send it out to the shop floor, plan it, program a machine, produce it, inspect it, and ship it in 5 business days. And that's engineering, manufacturing, development. And so that didn't happen overnight.
Right.
That took years to put in place. And I think part of why so many of these initiatives come and go in large organizations is they're not patient enough. We could have easily given up on this after 3 or 4 years, but it took us a year just to put all the tools in place to measure the things that are important to us. Before we even started doing anything, we said we needed to measure ourselves. A year to put the measurements in place, another year to start reacting to them, a third year to start seeing the results, and then so this was a 4-year plan just to do that, and that's kind of how that works.
Well, a lot of organizations really, in any initiative, I don't care if you're in manufacturing or if you're in sales or you're in the service industry, a lot of initiatives, people have these great ideas, like you say, but they don't have enough doers. Not only the doers, but you took, first of all, you invested in the future. You took the time and said, well, we've got to invest, and you knew what you were investing in. You knew what you had to invest in to get it right so that you were ahead of the curve before the curve got ahead of you. Mm-hmm. Then you also made sure that you had the process identified and took care of the details. There's so many people that forget the details or aren't willing to go there to manage and understand the details, because in any industry, in any business today, it seems that one detail falls apart and the whole thing falls apart. And unless people understand the details of every step of that process and connect that process then to the strategy, they never seem to be able to get anything done. And I think that's a big differentiator. You've got the doers that are actually looking at the details, communicating this with the strategic plan, and saying, okay, here's how we stay on track. Would that kind of sum up how that works a little bit differently for your company versus others?
Absolutely. I mean, I would agree with that completely. And part of putting a new process in place is, look, it's not going to be perfect. I always say, look, let's not get caught in perfection paralysis and wait to take that step until it's 100% perfect. Let's take a lot of little steps along the way, start putting the change in place. What's important is to respond when you see that you're not doing it right. And that goes to other processes, quality processes and things of that nature, where we say it's okay to make a mistake. It's not okay to make the same mistake twice. So we look at what we're doing, and if we're not doing it right, it's documented. We look at it, we review it, we put corrective action in place, and then we try and learn from that and move forward. And so there's a lot of elements that go into the success of the whole strategic process, for sure.
And I think that goes into a book I did with Bobby Unser. He always talked about making sure the details were taken care of, but he said that one of the things that helped him out with Roger Penske was the fact that they planned. And I would ask him, I said, well, when would the plan change? He says, as soon as the race started. Then the team that won was the one that adapted the quickest.
That's right.
Which is precisely what you're talking about, in the ability to execute the plan, but understand you have to adapt to stay on target for to execute your strategy.
Absolutely.
Well, that wraps up our interview with Craig Van den Avont, president of GAM Gear Drive. I hope you've learned a lot, as I have, about strategic planning and actually executing things to stay ahead of the curve. Thank you. I'm Paul Pease.